Oh, Bart. Always causing trouble even when you don't mean to. Underachiever and proud of it. Especially with all your bootleg stuff, Bart. Don't have a cow, man. Kind of Simpson-like clouds out. Alright, we are heading into Portland. Well, right on the cusp of East County, Gresham, and Portland. To an old, well, it was called the Deli Barn. The building's still there. But to an old-time Gresham hangout. A lot of folks from East County will probably remember the Deli Barn. It's a funny story. Well, probably not so much for the owner, but definitely very Simpson-esque. Right, next stop, right over here, Rockwood Plaza. Just waiting for the light. 182nd and Division. Creepers! Good morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you are tuning in and creeping with. If you guys have been following the channel or you haven't, I'm a huge Simpsons fan. Been following Matt Groening since the early 90s, late 80s, when they were doing the Tracy Ullman skits on the bootleg, or on the channel, before even the bootleg shirts and Simpson Mania came about later on in the 90s, with basically Bart Simpson being everywhere and the Simpsons still running strong all these years later. We are right here on 181st and Division, right on the cusp of Gresham, East County, Gresham, and Portland. And right here behind me used to sit the Deli Barn, which is now, it's still a deli, but back in the 90s, this place was ran by a Multnomah County sheriff that was known by his employees as Bart Simpson. It's now the Rockwood Lounge, but for many years this was owned and operated by a Multnomah County sheriff, and he would work, you know, as a police officer during the day and then come here and run his deli, which is still a deli. But this building in particular has a very interesting story, especially right around the Simpsons Mania. Bob Barnhart, hence the name, I think, the Deli Barn, was a huge fan of the Simpsons, and all of his employees, including the people that he worked for at the sheriff's office, had a lot of nicknames for him. Bad Bart, including Bart Simpson and a couple other nicknames, but he was mainly known as Bad Bart. And so his employees, when he owned this, thought it would be a really cool idea to hire one of those window painters to come out and do a version of him as Bart Simpson. They hired a person to come out and basically, you know, do a rendition of Bart, Bob Barnhart, as Bart Simpson. So they had him in a police outfit, wearing a badge, and I think they even had Santa's Little Helper as, like, you know, one of the canine units. And I'm not sure exactly what window it was painted on, but there's a ton of these windows all across here, so I'm guessing it was probably on one of these front windows. It could have been right here. And I kind of found some pictures similar of what that would have looked like, and some Oregonian articles about how Bob came to work and there was a letter addressed to him under a fictitious name that he had no clue as to what or who it was addressed to. So Bob didn't open it. He basically tossed it and didn't think much of it. And then about 3 months later, a gentleman came in with another letter addressed to him personally and let him know that the Bart Simpson on the window was trademarked. If you guys remember, in the Simpsons early beginnings, including myself, had a knockoff or bootleg Bart Simpson shirt, and at the time Fox, I don't think Matt Groening so much was upset, but Fox Broadcasting, who owned all the trademarks and copyrights for, you know, all the Simpsons merchandise, which could be found on pretty much anything, were upset that he had used Bart Simpson's likeness on his business and actually mailed him a cease and desist. And Bob was like, sure, I'll go ahead and take that off the window, no problem. In fact, Bob took the painting away from the window, but was still served a $500 ticket for basically trying to use the likeness of Bart Simpson. And he went on to explain to the attorney that charged him, you know, gave him the ticket or whatever, that he had no idea that that would be an issue, especially since he was definitely not selling any merchandise, you know, knockoff merchandise of Bart Simpson. And the attorney basically didn't care at that point. He wanted his money. Went ahead and erased the Bart Simpson on the window and basically had to pay up. I think they ended up taking him to court with the cease and desist letter, not realizing, you know, his employees realizing that they were basically just trying to do him, you know, a good thing. They knowing that he liked Bart Simpson, that they had always kind of nickname him that and call him that and stuff. So yeah, kind of an interesting thing. And then having an actual, you know, cease and desist letter from Fox Broadcasting themselves, letting him know, like, hey, you can't use the likeness of any cartoon character. And what was funny is in the article they explained some of the Bart Simpson bootleg shirts that I could definitely see where, you know, Matt Groening and them were kind of like, okay, enough's enough, where it was getting kind of political and racial and stuff at that point. But Bart was on everything back then, including a window as a police officer. What was another interesting thing about this story is Fox had basically gave up cease and desist letters to a lot of folks over the years for using, you know, the Simpsons and whatnot to try and sell products. But there was another business out of Seaside, Oregon called the Jerky Hut that actually knew Bob, got a hold of him and said, hey, look, the Simpsons are actually using my likeness on their show. And they kind of teamed up and talked about what they could do. And there was an episode where Homer visited a place called the Jerky Hut, which at the time was an actual business in Seaside, Oregon. And when Homer approached the Jerky Hut on the show, he was going to go in, and he kind of looked at him. He said, nah, too salty. And they said that actually harmed their business because they actually had the name the Jerky Hut used way before the Simpsons. And if I recall, in one of Matt's Life in Hell books that he did, I think it's Childhood is Hell or one of the School's Hell books, Akbar and Jeff, which was some of his original characters, they actually had an Akbar and Jeff's Jerky Hut. So I think Matt actually did create the Jerky Hut way before the actual Jerky Hut was around. Who knows, other than they were basically trying to make sure folks weren't, you know, using the likeness of Bart Simpson. I noticed these right across the street are these awesome window paintings. These have been here for a long time. The Ranger. I wonder if this is the same artist that did Bart back then. I don't know, but let's get the picnic basket and get out of here. And what's even more interesting is I thought I heard, or maybe it's just a myth, but I thought I read somewhere that Matt Groening actually liked and actually collects all the bootleg Bart and Simpson stuff. So, interesting story. I love you guys. Make sure you guys give it a big thumbs up if you did enjoy this, if you're a Simpsons fan, if you remember having Bart bootleg merchandise. I love you guys. Creeper out for now. Peace.
That's going to do it for today. If you guys are new here, make sure you hit that red subscribe button. That'll dial you into being a creeper today. You can also ring that bell. That way when I creep, you guys will be the first to creep. And if you did enjoy this, give it a thumbs up. Till next time, creeper out for now. Peace.